Sit and relax.
Okay.
All right, we did Answer Podcast episode 48 right here. 48. We on 48. Last time I said the wrong number, but today we back in our series of the how to make it in America. That's the fashion series. We did the first episode.
Okay.
We had Larry, Huey Brand, Y, LRL,
Okay.
and we had Off Tour all in the first episode on
That's
one.
lit.
And we had BJ on the second one with the popular stranger hats and all of that. And we gonna keep it going every time. But on this one, we got Irregular Jess here, the pioneer, the been doing this thing. We gonna talk about her travels in the fashion world, everything she know, everything how she started, what she got into. And I don't like to do the whole cliche. How did you get started? What is your motivation? All that bullshit.
Okay.
But I feel like it's necessary because, as I said, and we came up on this episode because you said that shit about B-More. I always be fucking with people about B-More. Like, it's Baltimore, it ain't B-More.
Right, that's how we got it. I was thinking about that today.
But I always fuck with people. But you know, regardless of it, and then I said, I tip my hat to you because I see everything you're doing. I see a lot of people that's influenced by it is doing a big thing over there in Cali, worldwide, all that shit. So I feel like, I know I say it's cliche, but I feel like it's a good thing to let people know your steps because somebody might take them the same steps and be on the same path with you doing the same thing. So you never know who you can inspire. And like I always say every episode, you must teach what is taught. We gotta get that game back to the youth and everybody else. So starting off, how did you get started with your clothing? Because I remember you was doing this since high school, right?
Mm-hmm.
All right, so take us back to high school. You went to...
I went to Poly.
Okay.
So first off, I'm very proud of you for having this platform in Baltimore. So we have to point that out. So we all came up together. Larry,
right. Yeah.
Like it's crazy to see. Larry was just in LA a couple weeks ago, and I had invited him over. We had like taco night. We was just talking business. It's just crazy to see where everybody is now.
Yeah.
And we were just talking about that. Like it's crazy. So I'm really proud of you for having this platform for all of us.
Appreciate it.
But yes, I went to Poly. I'm a Poly grad. I started my career in fashion when I was 14.
He went there too.
Oh, you went to Poly? Hey. So yeah, I started my career in fashion when I was 14. I was in the 9th grade. And the summer I was transitioning from 9th to 10th grade, my mom had placed me in a youth entrepreneurship program through the NAACP. They don't have it anymore due to funding, but it was hosted at Morgan State, and it was a youth entrepreneurship program, and it was a 5-week program. You had to basically pick a business and focus on it for 5 weeks. At the end of it, you got a scholarship potentially, but you also got like a $500 bonus. And at 14 years old, I was like, I'm about to get my $500.
Yeah.
So I decided to start this brand. I literally was just coming up with a concept. I thought, what am I good at? I had always been complimented on my style when I was younger. My grandmother was a seamstress, so it came natural to me to be within style. So I was like, you know what? I'm going to just go in here and start a clothing company. I started painting on jackets. I started sewing stuff, like completely deconstructing stuff. And then I won the scholarship at the end of the program.
It was only one winner?
It was one winner for the scholarship. Everybody got $500, but one person got a scholarship. And I got the scholarship.
You was destined.
So I was like, oh, I'm really doing something.
Yeah.
And my mom started to see it. She was like, we're going to put you in sewing classes. Like, she saw how serious I was taking it. And a lot of my friends were in the program with me. They was just there for the money. And they was like, yo, you're really doing this. I'm like, y'all about to start selling these jackets. So I went back to Poly, 10th grade year, and was selling jackets out of my locker. Like, everybody knows, I used to have a line around the corner.
That's what's up.
I was making custom hoodies, 10th grade. By 11th grade, I was sewing prom gowns and wedding gowns. And then 12th grade, I had a full-blown business. I was making like between $500 to $1,000 a week off hoodies and jackets and prom gowns. And I did not know how to sew that well. Like, it was
your grandmother taught you?
She taught me a little bit. My mom placed me in some sewing programs as well with like Joann's Fabrics and local places here. But I still didn't know how to sew that well. Like, I wasn't great at construction. But I was still selling stuff left and right. Praying to stay together.
Yeah.
But
it ain't really hard to impress when you're in high school, even with the quality part. Like the look, but the quality ain't really.
I was getting by because they was, oh, well, you know, you're only 16. It's okay. Like, no, I was selling some messed up dresses. I ain't even going to lie to you. And then I sold some that were beautiful. So it was like I was learning and charging as I was learning, literally. So after high school, I moved to Philly. I attended the Art Institute of Philadelphia. Took my little took my little scholarship for the NAACP, applied it to some other scholarships I got, and was able to attend there, graduated with my degree in design. And I felt like the school it taught me a lot about construction, but nothing about entrepreneurship. Nothing about the real world. That's when I realized, that was my first time getting a preview of what life could be as an adult. Yeah. And I realized, like, Baltimore City public school system did not prepare me for real life.
Right. School, that's the I
biggest finesse.
Yeah, that's the idea of school that's still going this day, high school and college. They don't really prepare you for what you really need, that it give you half of it.
Not even
half.
A quarter. If that.
Yeah,
I was lost in the sauce. So I ended up having to move back to Baltimore. I worked in property management while still trying to fund my clothing line. I wasn't making any money in clothing. And I remember, like, I got into a point where I got so comfortable at my 9 to 5 that I was like, well, maybe I'll just continue to work in corporate America. I was tripping. This was a 22, 23-year-old me.
Right.
I quickly got inspired because at my 9 to 5, they transferred me to a different office, and I was working with a supervisor that became one of my closest friends to this day. His name is James, and we worked in the same office together. We both, we were there, but he knew that I had this aspiration to be this designer. He used to get stuff for people that he knew back in the day for me, so he knew who I was. And I remember, he was like, yo, you gotta get back on your grind. I'm gonna let you off on weekends. Right. He used to clock me in, and I would go to New York and do fashion shows and come back and act like I was at work the whole day. We just used to finesse the whole office. So
he believed in it.
He believed in it. Right. And I remember it was about December 2015. I had gotten to a point where I was more consistent in my brand, but I wasn't seeing results. I needed help. I needed leadership. I needed a guide. I needed a teacher. So I found this business coaching program on Instagram. This was years ago, before everybody was a consultant. And it was a real business coaching curriculum. And it was an online program, and I was familiar with the person that was offering the program. Her name was Raven. And she actually used to get stuff made for me as well. And I signed up for a free call with her. It went great. Then she told me, I can help you for 12 months. We'll do a year curriculum together. I'll teach you how to develop your brand. I'll teach you everything about business and entrepreneurship. And I'm like, okay, it's going to take a year. I'm sitting here thinking, oh my God, I don't have that type of time to invest. And she told me the first portion of the program was all about mindset. And I said, well, let me skip that part. And she was like, no, it's not an option. And I thank God for it now. So long story short, I was considering her program. It was, at that point, I thought it was so expensive. It was over $5,000. I was like, oh, I don't know about this.
But it's worth it, though.
To me, at that point, with the mindset I had then, I didn't realize how much I didn't believe. So I'm like, I'm going to save that money. I can put that into my business. Right. So my supervisor, James, I told him, I'm not going to sign up for the program. He was like, all right, so you're going to be here with me next year. Then. Cool. And I was like, right, you're right. And then he also said to me, he was like, you know why you so scared to sign up? I want you to recite the Lord's Prayer. And I couldn't do it. And I was like, I grew up in church as a child, but I didn't have the relationship with God I have now. And he said, well, this is the main reason why you're scared. You don't have a relationship with God.
I would cut you off.
That's key.
You asked off 2 questions that I already had in my notepad. I'm just letting you know.
Go ahead,
though.
So that literally did it for me.
Okay.
And when I heard that, I was like, wow. So that's why this is one of my best friends to this day, because he reintroduced me to God as an adult. And then literally that same night, I go to sleep and I pray for the first time in a long time, and I have a dream. My dad actually passed away in 2011 out the blue. He was watching a Ravens game, had a heart attack, and died, just out the blue. Sorry. And it's okay. And in the dream, my father passed away at Union Memorial. In the dream, I'm in an apartment building across from Union Memorial, and it's me and James working. We're in there working all day. It's busy. Like I said, James used to let me off whenever I wanted to be off. We used to finesse, and I asked him, could I get off? It was super busy at work this day. I'm like, yo, I gotta get off. It's the grand opening next door. I gotta get there. I see the whole Baltimore there. And he like, no, you gotta work today. Like, no, you can't. We gotta start doing things properly. You can't get off. So finally 5 o'clock comes, I get off, I go next door, it's the grand opening to my store.
Okay.
Everybody left.
Okay.
Everybody leaving, nobody stopping to talk to me. It's like they can't even see me. I'm like, wait, I'm here now.
Right.
So my father was the only person left inside of the building. He cussing me out. He like, I can't believe you. I have you. I got you. Right. So I was like, all right, boom. So now I see how God working like 24 hours.
Damn.
So the next day I signed the paper. I do the business program. To this day, I was her top testimonial. I was out of my 9 to 5 in 4 months. I went from Irregular exposure was making like $300 a month when I first signed up. The first 24 hours in being an entrepreneur, I made $12,000.
Damn.
Yes.
Okay.
And yeah, so here I am today. Fast forward, I've done a lot in between that time, but now I have a multi-million-dollar company. I have 2 of them, and then I have 4 other businesses. I'm working on property management. I'm doing a lot outside of fashion now, but it all started from that story.
Okay.
So that's how I made it to entrepreneurship.
That's an amazing story. And one thing that stood out to me when you said your story was the fact that your mother was backing you that whole way. So that's very, I feel like that's very important, because a lot of people, I ain't gonna say just their parents, but just to have somebody that's push you, especially, we talk about this a lot on here, just like growing up, and we get accustomed to certain things and living a certain way, and everybody growing up the same way. But when you got a parent that's supportive, she put you in that program, she told you, no, we gonna do this and do that. It makes a huge difference. So,
it makes all the difference. I can't even, I thank God every day. And also, you just never know how life is gonna shift. My mom has multiple sclerosis, so she can't walk anymore. She's usually like in a lot of pain, but she's like the most lively person. Like, you talk to her on the phone, you would think this woman ran 10 miles a day. But for me and my sister and brother to now be in position to take care of her, like, you just never know how God lines stuff up. So it's like, take pride in those people that invest in you.
Right.
My mother is never going to work again. Like,
confirmation.
Ever.
That's confirmation for real. So and the other question that I was going to get to down the line, what I said you cut off was the spirituality part.
Yes.
So that's so you feel like, from what I got from everything you just told me, was, getting back right with God, your mother, and everything. Those was the 2 biggest, and James, the 3 biggest parts
James
of what put you in this position.
Key. I'm gonna say James as far as the spirituality. That's like one of my close best friends. But it's so many other people. Like, I have a very close best friend, Brittany. Like, that's one of my cheerleaders. So that's my right hand. Like, she moved to LA. We moved to LA together.
Okay.
I call this girl right now and be like, yo, I got a fashion show in Africa. She's like, all right, let's ride out. That, and she's going to stay in there and be my #1 fan. So I have a lot of people, not a lot, I have the right people that like consistently a part of this process. But I know who to call for what. Right. Okay. So James is in a position now where he doesn't work at the company anymore. I've been trying to help him see his gifts and everything, and now he's in a spot where we having a business meeting later this week, so I can help him come up with his 2021 plans for his entrepreneurship. He got his own company. So it's like everybody's in a position where you just gotta know how to feed each other at the right time. Yeah, be each other's crutches. Hold each other up, man. I like that. But spirituality, that's the core. Like, God is the core of everything I do.
Yeah, I got that. I definitely get that. Yeah. So what as far as fashion, was there any designers that inspired you to get into what you do, or how you started creating everything?
I'm gonna say one for certain from Baltimore, Devin. I don't know if you guys know Devin, but he owned the company. In Tyson. He was one of my biggest inspirations back in the day. He used to paint on everything, and when I was like 14, all I used to do was I just wanted to reconstruct and paint just like him. Like, he was my biggest influence back in the day. So Devin, as far as the influence here in Baltimore, but I've been very inspired by brands like Alexander Wang, Terry Mugler, Fear of God. Is one of my favorite brands to watch, just because the way that he operates and runs his business. Jerry Lorenzo, like, he's not very much so involved in the process anymore. He's more so involved in, like, making sure people understand the mission of his brand. So I feel like his brand's gonna be around for years to come, because he moved different. It's not an instant boutique. Clothes. It's not just clothes. It's a whole organization that he's like really making sure people see his initiatives on, things like that. So I'm very inspired by him. I'm inspired by Connor Walker. She owns a brand called House of CB. It's a real big women's owned brand. And she's just, again, one of those people that operate like, I'm going to be here in 50 years. Because I always tell people, like, the secret to success is being around 20, 30 years
Longevity.
from now. Yeah. If you do not have longevity, it's not gonna work. Like a lot of these Insta boutiques, you just popping on clothes, taking pictures. It's gonna work for now, but it's not sustainable.
Yeah.
So like, what's gonna happen in 10 years after y'all got 3 kids? And you can't model the same. You're not gonna look the same.
And
like,
that was like when I was watching your podcast, and when I was thinking, just from the outside looking in, I feel like a lot of people. I'm gonna ask you: do you feel like a lot of people do get in a business of fashion, as far as just trying to hustle and make some money, versus the passion for the? I see that too.
I feel like it now though. Like this just started.
Okay.
I feel like when we was coming up, like we had
it wasn't a lot of people.
Facebook. You didn't see people selling stuff and doing this way. It was more creativity involved. I'd say. Like I remember when me and Larry. I remember one time me and Larry was in my living room when I was a kid, like 15, 16, and I was sewing tags on his stuff. Like. This is passion. We've been doing this since we had negative $200 to our names, like trying to figure it out. So, you know, I see now it's just very accessible. You can just go down to the fashion district in LA, pick up some clothes. You can go on Alibaba, AliExpress, get some clothes, put them on a girl that got a curvy body, and you got a business now. So it's like, it's not passion, it's a hustle. And I get it though. I'm not knocking nobody's hustle, but I think if it is a hustle, the thing about hustles is you always have to think about your next hustle. I don't like hustling.
Because if you hustle, if you make that your hustle, once you lose that or move on, you gotta move on to something else and keep doing it. So passion is always strong. Did you had a mentor in fashion that showed you the way? I would say 3 mentors. So I have Raven, my business coach. She was my overall entrepreneur coach. She taught me how to transition from 9 to 5 mindset to entrepreneur mindset, because it's a completely different world. So she taught me that. She taught me the accounting structures, like just the essentials to getting started as an entrepreneur. Then I had a mentor by the name of Tiffany. She's the owner of a company called Pink Lucy. She lives in Dallas. And she had her own manufacturing company, Black woman with her own factory. So I asked her, I was like, what's your rate for me to just follow you and invest? So I used to always ask people, what's their rate for me to follow you and just see what you're doing. So I don't ask for nothing for free. Like, because I know how get more asking that way.
And if you say what's the rate, you might get somewhere. And it depends on if they have the time. This was probably like almost 8 years ago where she had the time to give. I had another mentor in Atlanta. She had like a lot of partnerships with wholesale distribution companies, and she was able to like set up a lot of wholesale contracts and accounts. So I was working with her. So yeah, I've always had mentors in the industry in some way. I've also connected before. I went to an event with where Master P was the host, and I've always I'm the #1 fan of Master P.
I think you was posting that on Instagram.
Yeah, my bio used to be like Master P Connection. Like I love everything about
seeing you post that event.
Yes, I was so excited to go. So so I went there. I was able to connect with his team, and he's giving me like gems on gems just from like that one acquaintance. Like he had told me so much about what to look for in distribution deals. He told me what to look for in partnerships, when to sign, when not to sign. It was just crazy to hear. He had so much knowledge to give. And it was crazy. So I paid for the VIP ticket, and it was well worth it because I left with notes on notes on notes. He told me how to restructure my curriculum. So, and that's somebody I'm still able to keep in touch with his team for insight. So that's powerful. So you always need mentors.
I was about to ask, do you feel like that's necessary in the
in everything you do?
I feel I agree.
Everything you do, and I feel like once you I feel like your peers definitely should be on a level where you are. So now that I live in LA, a lot of my peers and a lot of my network, we're all women entrepreneurs. We're all earners. We're all doing well. But I always try to find someone that's doing better than me or is already succeeded.
So you can learn from.
So I can learn from them. Literally.
You got to. That's the way. And I think a lot of people struggle with that because, especially coming from Baltimore. That's how we ain't really with none of that.
We don't want to learn from nobody.
You gotta humble yourself and do that because you won't learn no other way. Like you could watch a million YouTubes, you could like do all the studying, but if you don't get that lesson from the person that already experienced it, you ain't going. That's even when it come down, if you go by the same attitude, if you're in the streets, you can't just jump out there. You gotta learn from somebody though. So
and you're not gonna know everything, but I think you gotta be open to being confident in what you do bring to the table. So you're never going to learn everything. But even today, like I just met up with two of my really close girlfriends that are both top earners, entrepreneurs, and we're doing some property together, some real estate. And we were talking about how we all are so confident in what we can contribute. Not just finances, but like if I can contribute my time, if I can contribute to finding the staff, because that's what I'm good at. It's like everybody has their niche that they're really great at, and if you focus on it and collaborate, you'll also get a lot further too. So don't feel like you have to learn everything in your industry. I think it's more so focus on what you're already really confident in, and just expanding that, because that's going to be what you can contribute. Right. So I think we just got to start looking at stuff in partnership too. I feel like that was something in Baltimore. That's what made me want to leave a lot. Sooner than later was like partnership was a challenge.
Don't nobody really want to. I can see that. I can see that.
And I'm not going to say that now, but it's a mindset.
It is because some people don't want to take the back seat. Some people don't want to. It got to be they saying it's theirs and all that. It's a lot more people willing to be the front. Or if I look like I'm getting it, fuck all that other shit. It don't matter. But I definitely could see that. But like you said, now I feel like it's changed because we seeing more. Instagram is a gift and a curse with social media because you get exposed to more stuff. Versus like when we was in MySpace, we only really seen Baltimore. So now we got access to see so much more in so many different lanes and different shit. And speaking of that, the social media, when I was watching your podcast, we're gonna get into that. But I seen the one when you was talking about you had your boutique back in the day. So how was that? And you was young when you had that.
My storefront.
Okay.
So I actually had a showroom on St. Paul Street. I was probably like 22, 23. And that did not go well. I didn't know what I was doing yet. I was still doing custom ordering. So I didn't have a ready-to-wear brand. Ready-to-wear is pretty much when you guys just go online and shop. I didn't have that. I was doing all custom orders. So I was paying like $500 a month. I was still working 9 to 5 though. So I had given my job notice that I was going to quit. They came back to me with an offer like, we can't lose you. My supervisor told me, like, I heard you're considering quitting. You'll be giving up on $80K a year. You'd be crazy. So 22-year-old me, I'm like, oh, I'll just stay part-time. I compromised. Again, you cannot compromise with God. If the plan is for you to be full-time, you got to go. So I was doing part-time. And I got part-time results. I wasn't seeing any results. It wasn't worth it. So 6 months in, I had a 6-month lease. When the 6-month lease ended, I was like, I don't want this anymore. This isn't making me happy. I actually shut down custom ordering altogether. I did not enjoy it anymore. I was done. I made a post on like Facebook and MySpace and Instagram like, if we are closed, we are only doing ready to wear, and the store launches next year. That's it. And I stuck to that boundary. People was asking me for years, can you make me this? No, I can't. And so I created my first ready to wear collection, and I opened my storefront in 2017. I had quit my job a year prior officially. And I opened the storefront. I really enjoyed having it, but I knew this wasn't right. I knew it wasn't supposed to be in Baltimore. Like I knew I wasn't supposed to have a storefront in Baltimore. Like I did that. I did that. God did not tell me to do that. I did that.
It was supposed to be somewhere else.
It was doing well too. It was lit. I'm like, all right, it's lit. It's cool. But I don't feel like I've reached my highest potential. Like I never feel comfortable if I feel comfortable. So I felt too comfortable. It was easy. I was like, nope, I'm not challenged enough. So 2 years in, I was like, I'm about to move to LA and I'm going to shut the store down. I knew I didn't want a storefront anymore either. I knew I wanted to expand into a different way, an entirely different way. So I wanted to have a warehouse. I wanted to have distribution. I wanted to have aisles of inventory where you just ship all day. I didn't want to have anything open to the public. I just wanted a vibe for my staff. Like I saw what I wanted, but this still wasn't it, even though it was a space. A lot of people always feel like, oh, I want a storefront, but like that sometimes is limiting. It's a lot of overhead. You have to have staff. You have to be able to keep up with the volume. And you have to really enjoy it. You have to be in front of people to sell your product all day, where e-commerce, you sell it like Shopify gonna go off all day without me talking to anybody. So it depends on how you like working. And for me, and the way I like to work, I prefer to make money in my sleep. You do not have to work hard anymore.
Smart,
you have to work smart. I do not work hard anymore. Like I've worked very hard and I'm done. So I'm like, I work smart now. And that was too much hard work. It's too much hard work for how smart my business was.
Because you said on there you hated custom design.
Oh my gosh. I hate custom ordering. Like, people to this day will be like, can you please just make me one dress?
Yeah.
There's no amount of money you can pay me for me to
It's
sew
too
you
much
a
work.
dress. It's not even that it's too much work. It's stressful.
Okay.
So the construction has to be perfect.
Okay.
The fit has to be perfect.
Right.
And I still
It can take
do.
forever.
It can take forever.
Yeah. I got
And
you.
also, like, it's so reliant on one person's opinion instead of my creativity.
True. Okay.
Whereas though right now I get to
I can
sell
see that.
just my creativity. And
Yeah.
it's a process with my creativity right now. Like, I still go from sketching to my pattern maker. We have fittings on fittings on fittings until it's right. Like, right now, as soon as I get back, as soon as I land, I have to go to a fitting to see if this product fits right, because I want it to be perfect. But I know that I'm going to be selling my artistry. So I'm going to be happy with that.
Okay.
And when I see somebody walking down the street, like, I made that.
Yeah. I can
And
see
you're
it.
happy with what I made instead of me having to conform to what you want.
Right. So
Yeah.
I'm gonna plug the podcast again. It's the fashion.
Yes, the Fashionpreneur Diaries is my podcast.
And you can find it on all platforms and
all
YouTube.
platforms, yep.
The episode that I watched was with the girl from Philly.
Oh, okay,
It
sure.
was the one
That's
about
my,
e-commerce
girlfriend.
versus It was e-commerce versus
Storefront.
And you also said that in that same one you were saying that you wish you would have. It was in Fells Point or
Yes,
Federal Hill,
It was
and
in
you wish you
Fayetteville.
would have had it in the hood.
I wish I would put my store in it. If I would have, now if I ever open a store again, or if I ever do decide to open locations again, they're all going to be
Hood.
in the hood.
Okay. Why
For
is that?
sure.
Why
Like,
is that?
purposely.
Why is that?
Because that's where my
That's
brand
hard,
is
though.
operated.
That's hard.
Yeah,
Okay.
because I feel like when you see luxury brands right now, they're always in luxury areas, like where luxury real estate is. If you go to LA right now, and you go to I was talking to Angel Brink. She's a celebrity custom designer.
Okay.
She's done reality TV, and she was on my podcast, and she was talking about how she was looking for a space on Rodeo, and the rent is $20,000 just to have a store on Rodeo.
Wow.
Whereas though, if you go down to like Crenshaw, you might can find one for like $2,500, $3,000.
Okay.
And
So it is cheap shit in Cali, huh?
not really cheap, but
Cheaper.
cheaper.
Oh, all right. Okay.
But again, you gotta look at like the traffic and everything. So
True.
same out here. If we can go to Fair Hill, open a store, but you're gonna be in an area where your target customer doesn't live there.
Yeah, and they don't be down there unless they go
don't.
to a bar or some shit like that.
So if you put a luxury brand on Monument,
You saying something?
what?
You bringing so much traffic to the area too.
And
so.
you're making luxury attainable for
Yeah,
our
yeah,
community.
yeah.
It's
That's
not even
hard.
about it being in
That's
the hood.
hard.
It's about making luxury attainable.
Yeah. That's
So I
hard.
think
That's
like
hard.
that's the thing, and I also had to look at who was purchasing. So when I was putting, all my product was online, I was looking at the addresses we were shipping to. There were addresses off of Monument Street,
Okay.
addresses
Okay.
in Cherry Hill, Maryland. Like it was addresses that let me see this is where my customer is. So I need to come to where they are.
And they could be attainable. For
Exactly.
Them.
But I wasn't shipping to Fat Hill.
Right.
I wasn't. I was shipping to Greenmount. I was shipping
Yeah.
to
Okay.
like North
Okay.
Avenue.
Okay.
West Side. So I was realizing like my girls live here. So I need to meet them where they are, and I need to give them the most luxurious experience possible where they are.
Right.
So I feel like if you're gonna put a Gucci on Monument Street, you're gonna have an empire. So
Yeah.
if I were to do a storefront, I would literally do stores, literally.
And that'll really
Absolutely.
be the foundation, the inspiration right there.
That would be it.
Because
Right there.
they look at it, they see your work, and it's like,
Right there.
yeah, we right here, and we can reach that. We can talk to her.
Literally.
I like that
It's
idea.
just you creating, but you're also appreciating the value in the community. So now everything else that comes in is going to have more value.
It's going to have to
Because if you-
equal that, or
So it's a real estate game
That's smart.
with
Yeah.
storefronts, and I think that's what people gotta understand too. Like when you start getting into having a location, you're in a real estate
Right.
game. So you need to pay attention to what's happening in the market
Mhm.
in that area, and if you're adding value, then you need to be buying the property on that street.
Right. So you basically, I'm getting from what you're saying. You feel what they doing up there on 25th with Larry off tour. And
Yes, like y'all are literally appreciating the value. But what
Yeah.
I want to happen is I want everybody to end up owning the building.
Right.
at that end.
Yeah.
And then we start buying the build. Like if they get together, put all y'all money together, and buy like 3 buildings on that block, and now rent those out.
Yeah, that'll be hard.
That's lit.
That'll
Now
be hard.
that's how you do it.
That'll be hard.
So
That'll
now
definitely be hard.
you're renting from your own property for free,
Mhm.
and you making money off the other properties. Boom.
Yeah, I like that.
That's how you do it.
Yeah. Shit, I lost my last. You was on a good. You was on a good. And you also said on that people don't realize how much goes into budgeting for a store.
Yes, a lot goes into budgeting. So when you're considering a storefront versus e-commerce, storefront first.
I remember my question. Go ahead, though.
Oh, okay.
Go ahead.
All right, so storefront first. When it comes into budgeting, first of all, your expenses are going to be way more. So expenses being, first of all, your gas and electric, rent, mortgage, whatever you're paying. You have to have payroll because you have to have staff. So your staff has to be there.
Right.
I cannot stand a store as, oh, these are my hours today, and then tomorrow we're going to do this. And then
Gotta be consistent.
You gotta be consistent. If you're going to be a store, be a store.
Yeah.
So you have to have consistent people there at least 5-6 days a week, depending on your hours. Also, you're going to be investing in cleaning. You got to make sure the space is tidy. You got to make sure that you have some type of experience when people come in. So if there's some type of photo op, something. I think that's important. On top of that, you have to have inventory.
Right.
And you have to have inventory in addition to your website inventory.
Yeah.
So those are the main things. Yeah, always. So it's just a different experience, but your website is expensive as well. Like, no matter what you invest in, you also have to have a budget for marketing. You have to make people aware of your brand. Right. So I think that is most crucial. Okay. That's most crucial. Okay. I put aside like 30% for marketing. And that is well worth it. It's a lot of money that goes out, but it's so more people can know about your brand.
That's worth it.
Yeah, so it's worth it. So I think a lot of people miss the mark because they don't ever invest in marketing, so they end up putting an amazing product out, or they open this amazing store and they're not doing any marketing. When you have a storefront, you have to really make sure you're marketing locally. Like, you should be on Fox 45 News in the morning for the Style Mondays. You should be a part of networking conversations locally. Like, you should be in the community. So yeah, I think people don't realize the importance of networking too. So like, your network has to be crazy.
Super important.
Super crazy.
I remember back in the day, my father had a boutique on Charles Street. It was called London's Boutique. It was right off of Saratoga and Charles Street. And when I think this is when I used to go to Eastern Shore. When I came home from Eastern Shore in 2010, I was working the store for him. And I learned a lot about the fashion business and business period. That's where I'm glad I did it. He only paid me one time when I was working it, but I went to the fashion show with him in New York. It was me, my godmother. It was me, him, and my godmother. Me and my godmother used to work the store, and we went up there with him. I loved it. I was happy as shit. We went to the joint right there. I can't remember exactly where it was, but seen a whole lot of vendors. It was a whole lot of shit like Buffalo and all this other type of shit. It was women and men fashion shit. That's when you was talking about it on the show, and we was getting the shit where you just sign up for like send me these and we go back. I was like, damn, this hard. Like, we could just let me get one of them. And then we went back. We went to the store, and I was telling him, like, we talked about it today too. And I used to tell him, like, it's different. Like, you could have really still had that shit, and we could have really took off, but he wasn't really worried about He was worried about the business, but he wasn't worried about the business. Like, he just wanted to have a store and clothing store. Like, he been said it, and I give him that. Like, he said, I'm gonna get a clothing store. He put it in the right place, but he wasn't really into it. Like, that wasn't his thing. He bought clothes, and everybody that know him know well-dressed man and all that, but it's different when you're doing a business. And I seen that. Like, like people would come, most of the business was foot traffic. Yeah. And you can't rely on that. Because you don't know who's going to come down that street. You could have 1 week, everybody coming in 1 week, don't nobody coming. Like, it was most people. Exactly. And I was going to ask you about that too.
Damn near illegal right now.
Exactly. So I definitely, when you was doing the interview, I was like, yeah, that's real. I seen that. And I was young. I think I was 20, 22, 23 when I was at it. But the question that I forgot, were you ever interested in doing designing for men?
I have a love-hate relationship with this. So I'm interested in it. It's actually something I was going to consider doing like a year and a half ago. I haven't indulged in it yet, but I think it's something I would do in the future. Okay. I really like it, but I gotta make sure the fit is fire. And I also have to make sure that my women's brand has expanded to the highest potential it can get to. Okay. Because it's only gonna make it easier. Because men definitely, they just want consistency. They want great fit. But when you have a brand that's already established for women, I've learned that a lot of those brands that I see that venture off into menswear, they already solidified their women's wear. Okay. So I feel like for me, I would want to do that. Okay. A lot of men, they buy off of women's buying power.
What they like.
As well. Like, think about what Fashion Over did. As much as I can't stand the brand, they added menswear.
True.
After the women's brand was popping.
Yeah. Why you don't like Fashion Over?
They copy everything I do
True.
and a lot of my
Okay.
brands. So they literally purchased off of our websites. Like, and it's not just black designers, but obviously we stick out.
Yeah. Black culture in the world.
Yeah, I mean, obviously. I mean, they steal from our culture overall. Mm-hmm. But myself, a lot of black other designers,
they just
we create, they don't even just copy. Like, they purchase off our sites and take the product, take it apart, copy the pattern, and put it on their site. Like,
that's legal?
No, not fully. What they do, it's legal to a certain extent.
Okay.
But there's certain parts that aren't legal.
Okay.
But there are certain parts that are, and they just don't care. Like, you could reach out to their lawyer. My attorneys reached out. They're like, oh, well, that part is not illegal. So until you can show me this or that, it's not that you can.
So that's a good. So the legal part of fashion, does that get real?
It can get crazy. Like, there's something called a trade dress law. That's what you can get to basically protect you against those copycats out there.
Okay.
But that is very, very, very expensive. So a lot of brands like H&M have them.
Okay.
H&M won a case against Amiri won a case against H&M because
they copied
their jeans.
So is it worth it?
It depends. If I'm on H&M level, yeah, it's worth it.
Corporation type show.
But I mean, that costs a lot of money. Yeah. So you got to decide if it's worth it.
Okay.
What is also worth it though is to use your voice on social media. So we've done sales literally saying fuck Fashion Over. Okay. Take 20% off and enter fuck Fashion Over is the code. So take advantage of your platform as well. I personally don't get bothered anymore. Like, people to this day, every day send me messages like, "Isn't this your product?" We know. I know.
Because it's gonna happen at this point.
It's gonna happen, and that's also a badge of honor when you start getting people.
Yeah. They ain't gonna copy no weak shit.
Yeah. So it's like, thank you.
True.
You know.
True. So how you feel about when all that shit was happening with brands like Gucci and Louis Vuitton with all the African American shit and like that, like all that drama? What was your thoughts on that?
I feel like, first of all, a lot of it isn't new. Right. And it depends on which brand we're talking about, because I feel like not everybody handled it the same way. I forgot which brand it was. There was a brand, I think it was Prada. I'm not positive on that. But there was a brand that had an issue with blackface. Like, I think they had made a keychain with blackface. That, like, I don't think we got our proper apology for that, or I hadn't seen it.
Or Jeremy Scott, I don't think he gave it right with the shackles on his tennis shoes.
Yeah, like, there's a lot of brands that I don't think they're going to apologize because they see nothing wrong with it. Right. But I will say that I think Gucci is a brand that handled it effectively. Okay. Gucci had it. Basically, I know that they had this situation with Dapper Dan. Dapper Dan is an amazing designer from the 80s.
I got
came up in Harlem. Yeah, he's lit.
Oh, yeah.
So Dap came up in the 80s. He used to make all these amazing attainable luxury pieces.
MCM and all that shit.
But he was reconstructing from fabrics, high-end fabrics. And sometimes he was also using fabrics that he custom designed that were mimicking their fabrics. So I get that it was kind of like a catch-22. But anyway, these brands came and shut him down. And Gucci ended up reconstructing a jacket that he reconstructed in the 80s and didn't give him credit. Yes, and they didn't give him any credit. Right. So everybody was tagging Dapper Dan. Again, the power of social media. So they was tagging Dapper Dan, like, give him his credit. He created this jacket. So that outcome came very quickly, like within a matter of days. Gucci put out an initiative. They created an entire program working with Dap. And the program was like this diversity program where they were hiring all these different interns, black people, just people from all different ethnicities in different parts of the world. Yeah. And they created education for them. Right. They also agreed to commit to certain diversity within their company. Then on top of that, they created a Dapper Dan times Gucci collaboration. So Dap is now getting paid off of the product. And when you wear Gucci times Dap, you're wearing Dapper Dan. Like, that's how you solve a problem.
And they turned that boutique in Harlem to his Gucci. Yeah, that was hard. I forgot about
that's
it.
You're
right. They definitely did right.
So people say Gucci's canceled, but they just did something I have not ever seen a brand ever do. Like, that man, there's Gucci in Harlem.
Right. And if anybody, I would say you would give it to him.
Literally.
Anybody.
And that's a prime example of how we talk about the real estate in the hood. Like, there's Gucci in Harlem now because of that.
True. You're right.
Like, that's how you leave your mark.
Yeah, for sure.
So I felt like they handled it properly. I feel like there's a lot of brands that didn't handle it properly. I feel like everybody just needs to do their research on companies and see where they feel comfortable buying at. I also feel like we have to stop buying so much luxury European brands and start buying within our own spaces. I love my pieces. I love a good designer item, but I'm not a girl that spends thousands of dollars on designer. Like I don't own a Chanel bag. I don't own I see so much that people have. I just don't. I don't have those things.
That goes
and I
back,
don't want it.
That goes back to the gift and the curse of social media. This is like everybody talking about Birkin bags and all that.
What?
So it's like, but like you said, but I'm a person that's, you know, everybody went through that phase wanting to have all the big names, Gucci, Louis,
yeah,
and all that.
I feel like we did, but I don't know. I can't say it was a phase. It was a phase, but also I do feel like it's not even a phase per se for me. I like quality. So if there's a black leather shoe and it happens to be Gucci, but it's a great quality, I'm going to buy it because it's a black leather shoe and I really want a black leather boot. But I did just invest in a really nice black boot in a bag. But I know it's going to last me like probably the next, I don't know how many years.
Yeah, that's the type of shit your mother got from back in the day.
She gave you 20 years ago.
Because I ain't big on names. Like, I like shit when you don't know what it is and then you see it and it pop out. Like, I'm not a walking billboard. I don't want the G's and the F's. That's what I was. Back in the day I was on that heavy, but like, nah, not today. Not as grown people.
We're not doing that. And you just learn the value of your dollar, and it's like, nah. So now I just like to invest in stuff. If it's good stuff, and if it's something that's just a little cheap piece that's going to last me a month, then I'll use it for that. But
so
that's it.
Going into that, what is your definition of style? Because like we just said, people think fresh and fly is all that shit. You Gucci and Louis, you know, they got that shit. It's made for you. The mannequin, the shoes, the shirt, all that shit. To me, I feel like a lot of people, and Jim Jones said this too. I love Jim for this, but he was saying how you go to the store. I'm the type, you go to the store, Walmart, I make it look fly.
That's it.
You ain't got to know what this is. You worried about the tag. You worried about what's on this shit. But if you can make this shit look good, or if you go into a spot and make that shit look good, and that's why I love a fly woman. I love a fly woman. Women have their shit is so different. Like, you don't know what it is.
You don't know.
You wear it and you make it look good. And it could be the cheapest thing ever, but you can make that bitch look good. But with niggas, it's like they go off of the name and all that shit. When you don't. I be trying to tell niggas, but they don't get it. So what did you?
That's just how they are. But that's because women attract to that.
Exactly. So my question to you, 2 questions. How would you describe, if you can, describe Baltimore style? And what is your definition of style, fly, all of that?
Got you. Baltimore style.
Because you've been places. So, and I say this, I don't mean to cut you off, but I say this because when I was out Eastern Shore, they had this idea of Baltimore, big T's, all this. Like, no, that's we wasn't even wearing. I don't know where y'all get this image from, but that's not. Then when they met us, because me and Larry was out there together too, it's like y'all don't dress like no, it's because you had the wrong image. I don't know where you got this from, but this is not it. So Baltimore, I feel like we don't really have, like, if you the ones that got if you go somewhere else, it's like you can't, unless you know a Baltimore person, you wouldn't know.
Exactly.
So tell me what you think.
See, so this is funny because living in LA, I hear this a lot, like, oh, you dress super fly. I'll put on anything. They're like, oh, you fly. And I think Baltimore is very creative. So for example, yesterday I had on like some $10 pants I got from Amazon, some army fatigue men's pants, and I just cut them up, threw them in a wash machine, and I got so many compliments for them, and I'm like, oh, it's you creating off of we basically create from what we have. So we don't have a lot of options out here for style. Like when I'm in LA, I can go so many stores to pick up an outfit. Here it's really a struggle.
Yeah, we don't have a lot of options.
It's not a lot of options. Like, I gotta buy from my black owned boutiques. That's it. But if you wanna like really get some like a nice accessory or something, you want to drive out to DC, Virginia,
all that type of Georgetown.
So I feel like Baltimore style is literally just recreating using the bare minimum. So we go to thrift stores, we go to websites and get pants, and we just reconstruct and deconstruct. So I feel like that's what Baltimore style is. I feel like Baltimore is definitely a little bit of hood flyness. Like, we like our pieces. Like, you're going to see the red bottom, you're going to see the Chanel bag, you're going to see the weave down to the button. It's going to look great. Like, I think we're like the flyest chicks ever, honestly.
For real?
Baltimore women.
I agree. But you've been a lot of places and you
yes.
really
It's an energy with it. So it's
Okay.
really not even like just the style, it's the energy we carry with it. So
Okay.
like I have
confidence.
Yes, it's a certain confidence, and we don't purposely match. Like we purposely don't match things together.
Yeah.
We pay attention to detail.
Yeah.
So I feel like that's how our style is, and we purposely try to add a little bit of streetwear to it. Like I noticed a lot of people don't really do the something that we used to do a lot is like tying like shirts, flannels around our waist.
Yeah.
A lot of people don't do that.
Yeah.
So I didn't notice that until,
outside of Baltimore. Yeah. Okay.
But I remember seeing one of my homegirls in the LA fashion district that's from Baltimore. She had her shirt tied around her waist and I had one tied. And I'm like, yo, don't nobody do this. And like we got a compliment together. Like I'm like, damn, I didn't realize this was a thing.
Yeah.
And it's like it just adds a piece of streetwear. So we just like we accessorize. We add the hat, we add the flannel, we add the accessories, we add the details. So that's what I think Baltimore style is, and we just it's our energy though. Like we just fly.
Yeah.
I
agree.
It's a certain flyness to our energy. Right. I've been told that a lot for sure.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay, I can see that.
Yeah.
I'm glad to hear that.
Yeah. We fly.
So, how did you start the Fashionpreneur Academy? What made you do that?
I started the academy out of a need of pretty much what I felt like I needed that I didn't have access to.
Okay.
So when I first hired my business coach, like I said, she had a curriculum, and she told me, she was like, you need to do what I'm doing for other people.
Okay.
In fashion. I was like, no, I'm not a teacher. I'm not an instructor. She said, you are. You've been doing this your entire life. Like you told me how people used to come to your house and you would help them sew, and I'm like, I can't do this. Like I'm not where I want to be at yet. She's like, no, you can help people get developed. So I started with just 2 clients that I helped develop their lines. They fully launched, they established, they became entrepreneurs. I was like, oh, okay, I am a good teacher.
Yeah, that's what's up.
So it turned into something way bigger. A lot of people were more interested in it. So I wanted to invest in people that look like myself, that wanted to create successful fashion businesses. So I wanted to create a fashion business curriculum. I felt like there were a lot of people out there selling vendor lists and selling like bits and pieces of the process, but never the full process.
Okay.
So I created this curriculum that's very educational. It focused on the beginning phases, which is accounting, legal structure of your business, and some stuff might sound simplistic, but some people just really don't know and don't have the resources.
Right.
Trademarking. The accounting is the major key for that first phase of the program to me. Like you get access to my actual accountant that I use. So my clients are working with everybody I work with. And I think that's a key, because for me to have the success I have now, I'm only going to go further. But where I'm at now, for you to have access to those things, that's so powerful. Right. So I wanted them to have access to exactly what I have instead of y'all getting a watered down version. Yeah. And I feel like a lot of teachers are like, oh, well, this is who I work with, but y'all can work with this one. Yeah. And it's like, no, like y'all are working with my team.
Right.
So
that's real. I think
that's a key.
Yeah.
So it's no way if you fail, it's on you. It's a mindset thing.
Right.
Literally. I don't even look. I look at it like if you don't get the result, it's literally because you didn't do the work. Yeah. Because I give them every key that I got.
Okay.
So that's the first phase. The second phase is all about the business structure. So they're setting up their websites. They're understanding Facebook ads, digital marketing. They're understanding how to purchase wholesale, how to design their first collection. They get access to all factories, distribution. And then phase 3 of the program is all about making money. It's all about selling. We go deep diving more into marketing. They learn how to be their own PR, networking, the power of it. So it's like 45 lessons. Every 2 weeks I have a live Q&A with my students. Just something that I love to do to just stay top of mind with them. So it's a real program. It's like a curriculum. Like it's a lot of work.
You need to be involved with if you try to get in this field.
Yes, it's a lot of homework. It's like they have reports and everything. So it's a lot, but I love teaching. So that's what it is. We used to have a lot of live events. We used to have this huge conference in LA each year called the Fashionpreneur Retreat. It was awesome. But I decided I wanted to go in a different direction. I wanted to kind of switch the way we do the events. So in the future, we'll still do events, but they'll be different. Okay. But everything is 100% based online. Because people hit me up like, oh, I'm in LA. Can I come to the office? Okay. I'm like, no. Yeah. It's all online. So people think like that it's like a classroom in LA. And it's like, we don't, that's not what it is.
How long has that been going on?
I've had the academy since April 2016.
Okay.
Yep,
Okay.
and I love it. It keeps me sane. It's so good to just watch my students grow and watch their businesses flourish, see where they are years from now, watch them restart sometimes. They sometimes come with a lot of ideas, so just kind of forcing them to focus on the best next step. So I enjoy it. It's my way of just guiding people. So
Okay.
I love the academy.
So I'm assuming that that's a good benefit that is online because of the COVID stuff and all that.
Thank you, God. Yes. So actually, we had our fashionpreneur retreat earlier this year, and the third day we had to shut it down because of COVID. So we made it through day 1 and 2, but the third day is still pending until we don't know when.
Right.
But yes, I was so grateful that we were able to do things online, and I was able to send everybody to classes from online. So yes, everything is 100% online based. And it was that way this entire time. So it's just only making it easier with COVID.
And when people ain't had nothing to do them first couple of months, they probably. So that also was my next question. How did COVID affect your business, or did it?
Oh, it definitely affected it.
Okay.
But it didn't affect it in a negative way. Thank you, God. So I would say this was the best year in my business ever. I've profited the most financially, mentally, physically, spiritually, every way. So March was when everything started to go on lockdown in LA. And I was so nervous because I was getting all of my clothing produced in LA locally.
Okay.
And I had a development team. I had 2 people in my design department. One, I would just give all my sketches to, and they would get my samples produced. They would handle my revisions for me. She would run around to the factories locally, pick up fabrics. And then she had an assistant that worked with her that would do everything for us. And all these people were full-time employees in my company. So when COVID hit, they couldn't leave their house. So I had to now do that job. I haven't done this job in probably like 13 years. So I'm trying to figure it out, and I have to make sure that I'm abiding by policies, and I'm not putting myself at risk. So I'm sneaking out the house just to try to survive.
Right.
And make sure our company stays lifted.
Right.
And then, I think like the end of March ended up being my top grossing 2 weeks ever in business in history.
Okay.
So I'm like, okay, this is good. Then I also decided I had to pivot again. A lot of the factories were closing down, and I'm getting all my stuff made in all these factories. I was like, okay, we have to go back overseas with our distribution. So I started transitioning all my development back overseas. So literally, the reason that all my stuff is made overseas again is because of COVID. But I thank God, because once I sat down and looked at all my expenses and overhead, I'm like, I'm paying a lot of money to have somebody locally run around.
It's cheaper doing it.
Like, I couldn't even believe how much I was spending compared. Because you got to remember, I'm paying payroll for 2 people. So I'm spending 6 figures.
And you got to pay them.
And I still got to pay for development, fabrics, sourcing.
Shit.
So that's 6 figures right there.
Yeah.
All tough. That got X'd out.
You're right.
And now we're profiting. It's like almost like my percentage of profit is crazy.
Okay.
Now. So, but thank God the way it's set up, the assistant that I had, he ended up going back full time with his company. So I was like, all right, cool, that worked out. Okay. And then the other person came to me and was like, Jess, I was thinking, I think I could do my own company. I'm like, yes.
So you ain't even had to break nobody's heart.
So she came to me. I was like, perfect.
Right.
Please go be successful. I want you to do all the things. So it was perfect the way God aligned it. And I started by August. We were 100% developing back overseas.
Okay.
All profit. So I'm in the best place I've ever been in, because a lot of companies, when they launch, I think, guys, a lot of times what you need to do is make sure you're profitable. You can make $1 million and be in a negative at the end of the year.
Right.
Because you're spending over $1 million on marketing and just overhead. So when I started to pay more, I always paid attention to my overhead and my costs, but to see how much money I'm saving now, like my accountant always is like, oh, this is crazy. Okay. How much you were spending. So pay attention to your overhead. Don't think you need 50 people to do a job. Work smart, not hard. So now all I do is I contact my factories in China that I first started working with when I first started designing. And I'm like, hey, I need to get 75 more of these, 200 of these, 300 of these. Boom, send me the invoice. That's it.
Okay.
And now I'm managing my development myself in the U.S. So for like my sample making, I sample everything. I have a personal assistant that'll run around for me but I'm like, hey, this is my sketch. Get the pattern maker on it. I show up for my fitting. So we have a flow now, and it really, really works. So yeah, it's only 4 of us on my team. People think it's like a bunch of us. It's just 4 of us, but it's 4 full-time, really committed people.
Right. And I like that you very detailed on your social media about your everyday and all that.
Yeah,
like,
I try to be.
I'm sure people get caught up thinking you probably, if they don't follow you, because if they follow you, they see you're not a bougie person. Like, you live back, you chill, you have fun, you geek and all that. And people probably think you gotta have a certain persona to be a certain way.
They do.
So
yes, I remember this guy I was dating a few years ago. He was like, I thought you was gonna be so uptight. I'm like, why do y'all think that?
Yeah.
I'm like, I guess because I gotta talk business. But
right,
if you watch my Insta story, you see I smoke weed just like y'all.
Yeah,
I be chilling. I be skating. I be living my life. I don't understand. I'm not a serious person at all.
That's what's
at
up.
all.
That's what's up.
So yeah, I think it's definitely. A lot of people feel like when they're business owners, like you gotta be so serious. But I think you should just be confident in being yourself. And we're in an era where it's. First of all, it's always okay to be yourself.
Yeah, got it.
Selling yourself is going to get you so much further.
Yeah.
So much further. So when people watch my curriculum, the first thing you have to do to work with my program is watch my free masterclass. The whole first 30 minutes, I'm just telling you about how I got started, who I am, and why I'm qualified to work with you. And you're going to know everything about me because I think it's so important that we live off energy too. So like, if you don't feel my vibe, just don't, you must as well just stop fucking with me here.
Okay.
Before you pay anything.
Yeah. True.
You know, so I feel like that.
That makes sense. That's right.
Yeah, so I don't take it personal. I just be like, yes, it is what it is. But yeah, people are. I see a lot of people that's just so serious.
Right. It ain't that serious.
We did all this to have fun and be free.
Right. Exactly.
Not to be uptight all day.
Exactly. So I'm glad you said that because on BJ episode he was saying how, as far as dating and being in a relationship, how he basically shut the situation down because he felt like he was giving too much time to his business versus his relationship. So do you feel like, you're in a different space now, so do you feel like it's easier or is it a hard thing to deal with, like, dating and still being in business? Like,
oh my God.
Because I'm assuming a lot of guys intimidated too because they get intimidated.
Yes, it's very hard dating. First of all, it's hard dating in LA as a black woman.
Okay. It's scary in LA. Is it?
Everybody say that, but I don't think so. I think this is the problem this is the issue.
Okay.
A lot of people from the East Coast, myself included, we move to LA, we move somewhere else, and we expect it to be home. Just like home.
I can see that.
It is not going to be Baltimore, y'all. So you're not going to find a chicken box. You're not going to find anything. Like, except that you're moving for something different.
Yeah.
So I have a lot of friends that used to move out there and be like, I'm moving back home.
Right. Dang,
you got to accept moving for change.
True.
So you're moving for something different. You're moving because you want to transition into something different.
Right.
I wanted to eat different when I got to LA. I wanted to eat better. I wanted to feel better. People tell me all the time, yo, you look different.
Okay.
Like I ain't got no surgery. I swear I ain't got nothing done. I feel better. That's it.
Right.
Like this girl messaged me like, look at your body. I was like, I did not get my body done, and I'm like, we're not about to start that line.
Right.
I ain't got nothing done.
Yeah.
But I do feel better, and when you feel better, you look better.
That's
so
the goal.
accept that your life is gonna be a little better. Like you're gonna eat different.
Right.
You're gonna eat different because it's not fast food is not as accessible.
Yeah.
Like it's not on every corner. So you're gonna have to wait for your food. So you're gonna eat fresher.
Okay.
You're gonna be working out. There's nothing else to do right now other than work out.
True.
You're gonna be working out.
True.
You're gonna be focused on yourself because your family and friends not out there. So you're gonna have to be committed to getting to know yourself. So it's just gonna be a different life.
Yeah.
So that's number one, which means that the people are different. So the men are different.
Very different.
Very different.
I know it. I know it's very different.
But you cannot move to LA looking for the Hollywood life. So if you go looking for like the tourist shit, like going out there to go eat a katana and towel, like you're going to experience the weirdo shit. Right. You're in Hollywood.
Yeah.
But if you go to the local lifestyle, like I do a lot of local stuff. So I go to local, but I try to make my life as equivalent to home as possible. And when I say home, just this being my home. So like, if I was in Baltimore, I'm going to go eat at Hazelwood Inn. So let me find my equivalent to Hazelwood Inn, which is going to be a black-owned restaurant. Boom. Got that. I got that spot. That's called a GS. I'm going to go there on Sundays and get my brunch. Boom. I know I like to work out. Let me find my place that's equivalent. So you have to find those things. And you're going to meet people in between it. So dating is definitely different. I stay out of the Hollywood mix, so
That's where
I
the
date
weirdos
locally.
be at.
Yes, where the weirdos be. I'm not into the weirdo stuff. It's a lot of. I've been to places that's been super weird. Like been invited to places that's been super weird. Like I went on one date before. The guy asked me to hold his gun.
Oh.
First date.
Well, that's kind of home. That's kind of home for you.
Nah, I was like, this is definitely the last date. We're still cool though.
Okay.
But that was definitely the last date. But I was like, no, like if you that paranoid, we just shouldn't leave out. I don't know what you into.
True. I got you.
Yeah, I had some wild dates in LA.
Man.
Super wild. Dating in LA is super weird, but
It's
there
like
are some real ones out there though.
Okay.
Like it's some real ones. Like I'm dating right now. I'm really enjoying it.
Mm-hmm.
And it's some real ones for sure. Like, but I can say the real ones are the ones that's local from LA.
Okay.
Born and raised, not in the mix. They got 30 posts on Instagram, and that's it. So they be out there.
Okay.
They be out there.
Okay. But as far as like intimidation, like, so do you meet people that already know who you are a lot, or because in LA, it's everybody's famous in LA.
Yeah.
So so I would assume that when I was saying it, like, I assume that if somebody know you, like, well, then again, that's the question, because if everybody in LA know everybody famous, do niggas in LA, like, are they more shifty to approach a girl?
I feel like men are just shifty to approach a girl, period, though.
Okay.
Honestly. So, maybe saying they want boss chicks until they get a boss chick.
That's the type.
So a lot of men are intimidated by that. It's like, oh, let me come at her correct. Oh, she seemed kind of serious. I don't want to complain.
Yeah.
Whereas like you should just be yourself. If you want to fuck with somebody, just try to get to know them. Just talk to them.
True.
And if they're interested, they'll fuck with you back, or they might not. They might show interest, or they might not.
Right.
But I feel like a lot of men are truly intimidated in today's world. They feel like first of all, they assume. They assume a lot.
You
like,
don't think women
oh
assume?
my gosh.
Women don't assume?
Yes.
Yeah, it's a
men,
fair game.
They be assuming. I've been told I just knew you was married with 2 kids. I just knew you.
But that's a nigga. If a nigga see a
single.
successful woman, they gonna automatically, especially if they see you
But
bad.
why?
Because if you bad, that's any nigga. Like if I ain't gonna see me. If a nigga see a girl on the street, she bad, she look good, bad body, I'm like, oh, she ain't fuck with no nigga like me. She fuck with a nigga that's doing this and doing that. A nigga gonna automatically assume that.
But you made that whole narrative up.
True, I'm with you, but I'm saying that's just how niggas be. And I know women be like that too. Women more so niggas than women, but I think women be like that too. That's just like you see a chick that's all used to dealing with a certain type of nigga. She might bump into a doctor nigga. She might not know how to approach this or be with this nigga.
That's all insecurities.
I agree. I'm with you.
I hate that shit. Like
I'm with you.
I was supposed to go on a date on Friday.
Mm-hmm.
This guy was supposed to take me out on Friday.
Mm-hmm.
I texted him at like 2 in the afternoon, like, are we still going out? He texted back at 5:15 and said, what you doing?
Oh man.
So I said, hit it out Owens Mills. So I'm staying in Owens Mills.
Yeah.
He just wrote back to my Insta story with hard eyes. I said, yo, cut this shit.
Oh, he playing
was we
games.
going out or not?
He playing.
I said, why you do that?
Yeah.
Oh, well, I was under the impression, I assumed you already had plans because you said you was going out Owens Mills. What?
He was bluffing.
You bluffing. Like, I don't have time. But now I'm coming off serious because I'm just trying to solidify some plans.
Right.
And I don't have time for games.
But
it was a waste of time anyway. I don't even want to do a long distance thing. I was just looking for some fun while I'm in town.
But if a nigga, that's why I was saying about your social media, because if a nigga follow you, they can see like you ain't really got to worry about the hard up or I'm this, I'm that.
Yeah, I'm super
laid back,
fun.
you chill.
But that don't stop nothing. Like men are super. I've been told. Like one of my homeboys told me like, yo, niggas just be scared of you. That's it. Niggas just be scared. I'm like, scared of what?
I wouldn't get that impression.
He told me niggas was scared of me. But dating is very fun. I think also what's also interesting about dating as an entrepreneur is, for me, I just want to date my peers. So it also depends on, number one, what you're looking for.
Yeah.
So for me, I know what I'm looking for. I'm at an age now where I want children, I want to be married, so I know what I'm looking for, and I don't waste my time. So if you
put that out there early.
Yeah, I don't have time for games. I'm very honest.
We talked about that on the last episode, and we were saying like just being, because the nigga, it was a married couple, and the guy said, "You ain't tell me that early. Like, ain't no nigga going for that early." But I get it.
First date, I'd be like, so all I need to know is what you looking for. First date, we chilling. Like, it's a guy that I'm dating right now. I was like, all right. But the first date, he asked me. He was like, you got any diabetes in your family?
Damn.
Do you got cancer, any issues? I'm like, all right, so you're not fucking around.
Yeah.
So I asked him, I was like, all right, so what you looking for right now? What you looking for?
Yeah.
Okay, so you do want those things. All right,
Right.
well, that's all I need to know.
Okay.
Everything else in between is just friendship, building. But I just need to know if you have the same goal. Because if
Right.
not, I don't have time.
True.
So it is, dating as an entrepreneur is definitely challenging. I will say that. But it's just, honestly, I just want more men to step up to the plate, though, and just do your job. Like, I don't want to be out here.
Niggas be intimidated, though, especially if they don't feel like they at a certain place in their life where they can get
Well,
with
I
a
be
person
bagging
that's
and
on their
tagging
shit.
them. That's what I do now. So when they come to my DM, I be like, so how long you want to play this game? I got the same line.
Okay.
I be like, so how long you want to
You
keep
go
running back to
straight
my
at 'em.
stories?
Okay.
What's up?
Okay, that's real.
how I do
That's
it.
what's up. That's what's up. Well,
I,
I
be
mean,
like,
I got-
can-
that's for the niggas
Boom.
that's trying to figure that out. No taking. That's the whole. She giving you the game right here, right there. So moving on, close. We gotta wrap up. So, how much does Baltimore play in your legacy? Like, do you?
everything.
Okay.
Everything I do. Like, I try to include, like, I'm here today because I wrote something about Baltimore
Okay.
versus Bmore.
Okay.
Right?
Yeah.
So,
true,
like,
true.
Baltimore is everything in me. I come back home a lot. Just to be re-inspired, to be humbled, to connect with people. Like, this is my home. This is where my business partners are. This is where my family is from. They're not here anymore, but this is where my family is from. Everything I do, every story I tell, I have to include Baltimore in it because that's what made me. So
I love that.
And Baltimore is still my top city as far as results. So even though I moved to LA and we're doing well in LA, we're thriving, we still ship to Baltimore every day.
That's
at
what's
the
up.
most.
That's good.
So this is home for me.
I love
so
that.
if I ever were to do anything as far as a storefront or something again, it would be here.
Right.
Like, this is home.
Okay.
So yes, this is my legacy. Like, I don't see how it can't be. So I'm working on a few things in the city right now. So 2 years ago, I was trying to work with this school system to create something for youth. So I'm excited for COVID to finish up. So yeah, I'm always here.
That's very
Always.
necessary. It'd be
Yeah.
hard if you could do it up Piley or Western.
Because that's
They
what
got all
started
that.
me. A
Yeah,
youth
yeah,
entrepreneurship program is literally why I sit here right now.
Yeah.
So I want to create a new youth entrepreneurship program that doesn't have any funding challenges, that we could just flow and get these kids started, and not just in fashion, just youth entrepreneurship.
That
Period.
program that you was talking about, that sound like the
It was
shit.
lit.
I wish I would have knew about
Yes.
that. If you could put that back, bring that back for that'd
Exactly.
be hard.
And my teacher was a black woman that was a mom and an entrepreneur.
Okay.
So I'm
Western
like,
was my favorite school in high school.
I'm sure it was. I'm sure it was.
All right, before I go, 2 more questions. What is your I don't want to say worst, but what was your worst or hardest moment in your whole career path? Because my next one is your proudest. So.
Okay. Okay. So my most challenging moment was when I moved to LA. Probably like 2 months in, I decided to open my own factory in-house. And I didn't consider all of the overhead. Or actually I did, but God had a different plan. We outgrew our factory within the first 30 days. So I couldn't even produce my own clothing in my factory like my plan was.
Damn.
So we was getting so many orders out of the blue that I didn't have enough manpower. And the overhead, I was like, this is too much. I shouldn't do this way.
Right.
I'm working too hard.
Okay.
And I'm too stressed, so I need to do it smarter. So I decided to shut the factory down 4 months later and create a partnership with another factory nearby. So that, I wouldn't even say that was an L. I don't look at nothing as L's. I just be learning on my own dime, and I don't really
Not
care.
a loss, is a lesson.
Yeah, so
Yeah,
I think
okay.
that was one of the biggest challenges I had in business was prematurely opening a factory. And my biggest win was when I saw I had grossed my first $1 million before 30.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's hard. That's
Yeah.
hard. Okay.
Yeah. And
So
it was just one day I was praying and I just felt like something told me like, yo, check your numbers real quick. And I'm like, yo, I already hit something that I didn't plan to hit for another like 6 months.
Right.
Yeah.
That's an amazing feeling,
Yeah.
I'm sure.
Yes.
I'm sure.
I was in tears like, yo, you fucking did it.
That's what's up. That's what's up. That's what's up. So, I think we tackled everything. In closing, I like to tip my hat, like I said from day one. I love everything you're doing.
Thank you.
You're inspiring a lot of people. Keep doing what you're doing, and I love that you keep Baltimore at heart. That's
Yes.
what makes that's the
Yes.
reason. That's 50, well, probably 75% of the reason I created this podcast, because I wanted to show the world what we got. We
Yes.
offer so much. Like, you
Yes.
never know what we got. We more than just dope and guns
Yes.
and bodies
Yes.
and all that. So that's my thing. Once this hit the other platforms and blow up like that, that's what they gonna get to know.
Yeah,
so that's what I'm
absolutely.
putting to the forefront. But I salute you. I tip my hat to that. Keep doing what you're doing.
Thank you.
And in closing, if you want to plug all your shit, just let them know how to
Yeah.
reach you. And
Yes. So my Instagram is Irregular Jess, Irregular _ JESS. My clothing company is Irregular Exposure. So shop with us. And if you're looking to start your own fashion brand and you're looking for some insight and education, then visit the fashionpreneuracademy.com. You'll see a link to a webinar where you can get started for free. It's a lot of free game and information there, so check it out.
yeah, and I from what I got from this, you give up a lot of good game.
Yes.
So if y'all looking to get into this field, please take advantage of this, because
Yes.
everybody not going to do this, give up this much information, or be able to be this accessible
Yes.
to anything. So cherish this for real. So,
Yes.
and again, in closing, this episode, I think I said 47, 48, whatever.
I think it was 48.
I'm a little wide a little bit. But in closing, we need Answers Podcast.